Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. I am your host, the Mighty Bjorn, and today I have for you a Mighty game review of Mafia 3. I'm going to talk a bit about the game here. Now, understand it is an open world, third person shooter driving type game. It's not any different in premise from Mafia 1, Mafia 2, or even GTA gameplay wise, as they're all kind of generally the same idea. The game was released in October 2016 on PlayStation 4, Xbox One, and Windows PC. You're seeing gameplay from the PC version. And then it was released in May 2017 on Mac OS. The premise is sort of the base story. In 1968, Lincoln Clay returns from Vietnam to his old neighborhood. Lincoln Clay helps his surrogate father, Sammy Robinson, with a mafia robbery that was ordered by Sal Marcano. This was supposed to even everyone up. However, after the robbery was complete, Sal would have Lincoln and his family killed. Lincoln would set out on revenge with the help of Donovan, who is actually a CIA agent that he had worked with during his time in Vietnam when he was with the Special Forces. I'm not going to really dive too much into the DLCs, the background story for the DLCs, because the DLCs really aren't extremely long, and I don't want to ruin any of the story for those. But know that there is 3 different DLCs that extends the story of the game, which one is Faster Baby, the other one is Stones Unturned, and the last one is Sign of the Times. There's also a Family Kickback pack, which adds 3 new weapons and adds 3 new cars, one for each underboss that you recruit. That's the one car, it's called the Stallion, I feel is actually really good from that pack. And then this is a free DLC. It is Judge, Jury, and Executioner, and it adds some new guns to the game. They're not really new guns as much as they are reskins with some modifications to the stats and some weapons parts. In the case of the Colt 1911, it has a suppressor. Now I'm going to dive into my likes and dislikes about the game, and there is a lot here. That's why I just kind of skimmed over the DLCs, and I didn't really get into too much detail about those. I did enjoy the music of the game. It's a lot of mid 60s music. Bands like Cream, Elvis is on there. Trying to remember all the different ones. Jefferson Airplane, CCR. I mean, the list just goes on and on. The Supremes, the Temptations. I can just keep going on that, but that's really about probably as much as you need to know. The graphics are definitely a little dated, but even for being 4 years old now, I didn't feel the graphics were all that bad. The cars I felt looked great. The characters looked great. Everything to me personally looked great. I could tell the different stuff I was looking at, the trees, bushes, etc., etc. The water effects looked good. Even the alligators look pretty damn scary in the bayou. So, there you go. There's that one. The driving is basically what you would expect. Actually, it's not bad. It was better than I expected in general terms. I mean, it's driving. You're going to do a lot of driving. The driving mechanics is much better than Grand Theft Auto's. And even with how Grand Theft Auto 5 is a live service game, you would think they would have possibly made improvements over the years to the driving mechanics, but that was actually one of my worst experiences of GTA. Where in this game, it's actually not bad. Now, weather effects are taken into consideration. So when roads are wet, your car will slide around more. When you're on dirt road and you're not in an all-wheel drive vehicle, your car kind of drives like crap. So it's basically what you would expect. Honestly, personally, I feel the story itself is really great. It's a great story of revenge. It definitely had me enthralled all the way through. Um, Now, personally, it was a little bit long to get through all the secondary quests and everything else. They probably could have shortened some of that stuff up, but otherwise, it was really good, story wise. Daytime, nighttime, weather effects. The weather effects looks good. The night times look good. You can see there's stars and everything else. It's dark, and the daytime it's nice. It's bright. It's sunny, etc. etc. There's lots of weapons and equipment to play with in this game. Everything starting from World War II weaponry. They don't actually use the real names of the guns, but one of the guns in the game is actually the Thompson M1A1. You got the M1 carbine in the game. You got the M1 Garand in the game. Uh, the Remington 870, I believe, is in the game. The Ithaca M37. Uh, Colt 1911. I spotted a Browning high powered in the game, but then the M16 and the AK-47 is in the game as well as the M14, and I have to give kudos to them because in the game the M14 is actually an automatic. There's not a lot of games that actually features the M14 as an automatic, and actually this is the second one I know of in probably the last 20 years of gaming. So that kind of tells you a lot about that. Now, technically, the M14 is a selective fire rifle that the military had used, but in this game they actually made it an automatic. It was just different. I particularly noticed it because it was different. The game actually has a speedometer, something I can't give the GTA Online, which always drove me batshit that there's actually no speedometer in GTA. And the speedometer is nice and clear. It gives me an idea of actually what speed I'm going. However, it's not exactly important, but it was a nice detail that they added to the game. I feel the character designs are interesting, and I feel that the characters in the game have interesting backgrounds to them. So they've really gone the extra mile with the game of making it feel more immersive. This was a really immersive game compared to some other games I've played where they were only somewhat immersive at times. Um, Now the parts I didn't, they were kind of negative, but they weren't extremely negative. The cover mechanics could be just an absolute pain in the ass at times, especially when you're in like a doorway or something like that. You'll flip back and forth between the doorway or whatever if you're not using the control right. And that is another thing. I am actually playing this game with a controller and not a keyboard and mouse. However, you can play the game with keyboard and mouse, as well as actually you can flip back and forth if you want to. The game has a rear view mirror, but it is very small and hard to just most of the time I just ignored it because it just didn't it was just a pain in the butt to even look at. It was just so small. It was kind of one of those things that just might as well not even existed, to be honest. And most of the time, it was easier for me to tap my R3 button to look behind than to use the rear view mirror. The wiretapping gets repetitive. You got to do wiretapping. The wiretapping helps you gain intelligence and locations of different things in the game. And you got to do it a hell of a lot in this game. Plus, you have to collect parts to do the wiretaps. So you obviously also have to find parts to do the wiretaps themselves. And it just makes an extremely repetitive process. The veteran vision, it's more or less X-ray vision. Personally, I didn't even use it. I used it once just to see it. Personally, it just didn't even have to exist in the game. That was probably a mechanic they could have just did without. And honestly, who wants X-ray vision? I don't know. I mean, that's how I looked at when I seen it. The game does have cosmetics. You can change the outfits. I didn't feel this was a negative or a positive. It was just kind of, okay, I can change the character's outfits. It just doesn't really matter. Same with the cars. You can customize the cars, customize the paint of the cars and things like that. Another one of those things, it was there, but it just didn't really matter. It didn't impact the game really at all. The The last one is the mini map could be a little bigger. The mini map is very small. And I'm not necessarily saying that I should be able to see more on the mini map. It would just be nice to have it bigger so that way I could see it better, or it can be seen better. Now, these are the dislikes, and some of this stuff it probably would have been better to have fixed in the process of the game, or even have patched later. First off, the civilian AI is absolutely shit. I had moments of dealing with civilians driving cars just stopping in the middle of the road for no reason other than to stop in the middle of the road. And if you were driving near a sidewalk, you would think if you had a speeding car coming towards you, you would jump away from the car, not into the car. But that's neither here nor there. So I figured I'd make fun of that. The enemy at times is beyond shit. What I'm getting at here is you can trick the enemy real easy. There's actually a thing you can do where you can whistle to attract enemies to you so you can take them out quietly. Well, I would think after taking 20 guys out in a row in the same fucking place in the same fucking doorway, the enemy would catch on what the fuck is going on, but they don't. So there's that. The screen shakes when braking. I have no idea what the hell that's about, but the screen shakes whenever you slam on your brakes, and it's just annoying as hell. And the weird thing is, the controller I have, it does have a vibrate mode. The controller doesn't vibrate when hitting the brakes. It just the screen shakes. It's just kind of one of those weird things. The traffic laws, there's nothing there for traffic laws. Where a part of Mafia to me being immersive with Mafia 1, I didn't really play too much Mafia 2. But with Mafia 1, you actually had to drive the speed limit. You actually had to follow traffic laws. Otherwise, the cops would actually attempt to pull you over. And Mafia 3 doesn't have that. And I feel it's a negative because it kind of removes some of the immersiveness of the game. You don't really feel per se as close to going through the playing the character. And it's kind of one of those things. It's corny, it's cheesy. There's a hell of a lot of driving in this game. I can understand why you would not want to do that. The map is really big compared to the old Mafia 1 map, although the old Mafia 1 map was quite big for its time. And there's other things too, just running through red lights. A couple times I actually smashed into someone's car right in front of a cop, and the cop is just like, whatever. So it's just kind of like one of those things of that just kind of ruined it for me and made it feel like more like I was playing a video game over actually experiencing the events that Lincoln Clay is experiencing. The lock breaking, that's another one that gets absolutely old. That, come up with a different type of mini game or just cut it the fuck out. There was so much lock breaking in this game. You got to break in sometimes, like if you want to get a collectible, you got to break into a shed. So you pull out a crowbar, you pry on the door, and you get in. And, and then you got to do it whenever you're doing the wiretapping. Every time you're doing a wiretap, you have to break a lock. And it's just more and more. And it gets to the point of it's the first couple of times you do it, okay, whatever. But when you're about 30 times into doing it and you still got to do it another 50 times before the game's over, it's quite fucking old. Various glitches. I've caught a couple things here. Excuse me. I've seen a few graphic glitches where stuff would just appear on my screen and just disappear. Just like a random whatever, like a random block or something. It would just appear and disappear. I did catch some sound glitches, not too many. And honestly, I can't even remember what the sound glitches were. It was kind of like I caught them once and they're gone. And I did experience some crashes, and I looked into this, and apparently a lot of people were saying you have to turn down, if you're going to play in 1080, you need to turn your FPS down to 30 because this does have an FPS limiter. And you need to turn off VSync. Personally, what I had found, and pro tip, folks, if you get this game or if you play this game and have experienced crashing problems without a error report, turn off, keep your game at 1080, keep your FPS at 60, turn off your VSync. VSync is the problem. Once I got about midway through the game, started having crashing problems, um, and they were pretty ridiculous. The game was like crashing like every hour, pretty much. Um, I started reading around on the internet and reading different things. I tried turning the game down to 30 FPS, and I just could not do it. 30 FPS looked really horrible. The game stuttered a lot. So I cranked the FPS back up to 60 and kept the VSync off. Game stopped crashing altogether. Not sure if there's something connected to that, but it seems like the game is not stable on 1080, 60 FPS with VSync on. So anyway, the price on Steam, Mafia 3 is $39.99 for the deluxe edition, which I do feel is sort of worth it. I'll get to that in a bit. Is $59.99. Now what that comes with is it comes with the Faster Baby DLC, which was a hell of a lot of fun and came with a really good car. It came with Stones Unturned, which was a hell of a lot of fun, and personally it gives you the best, I feel the best automatic rifle in the game, which is the M16. And Sign of the Times. That was kind of fun, and that really changes the game from what you're used to more of like an investigator, try and investigate and find the bad guy type of deal, which was a lot of fun in itself. Now, it does not include Family Kickback Pack. The Family Kickback Pack itself is $5. What I'm going to say about Mafia 3 is it's honestly, it's a really tough sell at $60 for how old it is. I mean, the game is four years old now. I do feel the game is a lot of fun. It was a really great game. I actually enjoyed this more than the career story mode for GTA 5. And generally speaking, I just enjoyed the game more than GTA 5. I realize this is a couple years newer. Maybe they just had a better engine, had a better idea than what Rockstar did. But even, there's so much that is positive of this game. There's so many different things that makes the game immersive. I mean, it covers segregation, it covers racism. You got the music of the time, the way people talk, the way people dress. You can even hear people on the streets are talking about current events. I heard people talking about John F. Kennedy being assassinated and Martin Luther King being assassinated. There's so much going for this game, but I feel paying $40 or even $60 for the deluxe edition for a game that is 4 years old, it kind of feels steep to me. So I would definitely recommend buying this game on sale. Now, the Family Kickback Pack, that's going to be more of up to you. There's nothing super special about the Family Kickback Pack. It has 3 more cars, and it adds some custom skins for the different guns, plus it changes the stats a little bit. I really didn't use anything from the Family Kickback Pack but the Stallion, which is the green car you see here. It's a little bit later in a different clip. It was a really good car, but other than that, I didn't really feel, once again, I didn't feel it was worth the $5 because generally speaking, I didn't really use anything out of the pack. So that being said, I would not recommend paying full price for this game. I would recommend waiting for a sale and picking this game up. But I do recommend that if you get a chance to get Mafia 3, get yourself a copy of Mafia 3 and enjoy it. It is a fun game. But anyway, folks, that is the end of my review for Mafia 3. Went a bit longer than I expected, but there was a lot to really cover in the game. Anyway, folks, thank you very much for watching the video and enjoy your week.